he is at the pool because apparently Chicago has great weather today. But welcome to our Tiger King cocktail class, special edition for Beth. I had to actually watch this show.
Yes.
Because I had a very strong desire to refuse to watch this show because I had no interest in it whatsoever. And then Miss Beth said that she wanted to do a class about it and that I could totally make cocktails because she's going to do a theme party. So I had to watch the whole show because I can't make cocktails without enough information. I'm going to try and do my best and stay on the Facebook as well and try to juggle it. Currently having to restart my phone because technology has to hate me at least once a day. Yeah. But I'm actually really satisfied with the cocktails. They're a little bit cheesy, so bear with me because I am a cornball. So we're going to make 3, and we'll start with Quarantine and Tiger King because that's what this entire episode is inspired by. So this cocktail, if you have your ingredients to follow along, is going to be made with gin, the hibiscus tea infusion, the mint honey simple syrup, lemon juice, and pineapple juice. So it's supposed to be fruity, refreshing, light, easy to drink. And the glass I'm going to be using for this one will be a highball, and it's going to be a shaken cocktail. So you'll need a shaker. If you don't have one, you can use a mason jar. And let me see if I can get the Facebook thing up here real quick before I start. Also, I am adoring the fact that I know people on Facebook Live can't see my girl G's photo, but she's got a caffeine photo. Beth, aka Tiger Queen, is tigered out. Let me see those gloves. Like, those gloves are wild. Yes. And then Noob's got the shirt. Oh my gosh, shoes too. I look more like Josie and the Pussycat Dolls, but you know, this is as good as it's gonna get today. So for the Tiger King and Quarantine cocktail, we're going to use 2 ounces of gin. We'll put that directly into our shaker. And this is a really simple cocktail to make. Let's see. Who's on? On Facebook. Sorry, I know this is like not the normal speed. We'll fix that shortly. Chandler's super awkward because she doesn't know how to not be old and use technology. All right. Super cool. Now I get to see myself live on 2 screens. Not cool. I actually don't like that. All right. Supposed to be, there you go, live. Okay.
Is this 2 ounces?
Okay, let me actually come over and look at your shaker. Do you see? Yeah, that looks very similar to mine. So this is going to be 1 ounce. This is going to be 2 ounces. Okay. And then some of these models on the inside, I don't know if you can see, mine has a little line. It'll tell you smaller amounts too.
Oh yeah, who knew?
So the one inside usually has 1.25 ounce line, or sorry, 1.5 ounces. And then the smaller one's going to have a 1/2 ounce and a 3/4 ounce.
Huh.
So that way, if you do a full ounce or if it's 2 ounces, it's all the way to the brim every time. Okay, so 2 ounces of gin. And then we're going to do 3 ounces of our hibiscus tea. Now, if you don't have hibiscus tea, I've made this with a couple other teas. It works really well, but this is just an unsweetened tea. If you also don't have that, you could use cranberry juice. I just mixed this because it's nice and fresh, tart, no sweeteners, so it allows me to use the juices to sweeten the cocktail. So I'm going to use 3 ounces. And again, if you're new to using a jigger, the 2 ounce and the 1 ounce will be all the way to the brim. And not all jiggers are created equal. Some people have a 1/2 ounce, 1 ounce jigger. Some have a 1, 1.5. So it's important to know the measurements of your jigger. If you have one that you don't know the measurements of, or you can't find a reading on it, just reach out to me on the side and I can tell you how to figure that out with using tablespoons and such. So 3 ounces of our tea into the shaker with our gin. And this is going to actually be a really hefty cocktail to shake. So when we get there, I just want everyone to proceed carefully because our shakers are going to be quite full. I'm going to use 1 ounce of the mint honey simple syrup. Now, if you don't have that, you could also just use simple syrup. You could also just use honey, either way. So it's going to be 1 whole ounce. And put that directly into the shaker as well. All right. And we're going to use 1 ounce of pineapple juice. And 3/4 ounces of lemon juice.
Or lime juice?
Lemon. If you have lime and you don't have lemon, you can definitely use that instead. So lime and lemon aren't technically the same. One is a little bit more sour than the other, but if you only have one, they can kind of be interchangeable unless your cocktail is a lemon cocktail. So in your shaker, you should have 2 ounces of gin, 3 ounces of the hibiscus tea, 1 ounce of the mint honey simple syrup, 1 ounce of pineapple, and 3/4 ounces of lemon. Now, because this is a very large amount of liquid for people that are not accustomed to shaking, I don't want y'all, if you're newer on the shake scene, don't want you to fill your shaker all the way up with ice. If you have a 2-part shaker or a Boston shaker like mine, then you're going to put enough ice to just make that liquid almost reach the top of this small part.
Oh, you got Sonic ice again.
So what?
You got Sonic ice again.
I did. I love Sonic. This is like my new addiction. I am in love with Sonic ice.
Sonic, what the fuck is this? Who is this woman?
They're going to know my name by the end of like a week or 2 more. So yeah, Miss Kelly Rivers, thank you for the Sonic ice tip. It has literally made my entire life. So if you are unfamiliar with Sonic ice, and this is your first time tuning in, Sonic ice, also known as pebble ice or crunch ice is what I've always called it, is just tiny little pellets of ice, and you can actually go to your local Sonic and just order the ice, which is what I've been doing. I spend $2 every weekend and then just go get 3 40-ounce cups of ice. So if you have your ice in your shaker, we're going to very carefully tap it to make sure it stays really nice and secure. And everybody has a different shaking method. So if you're unsure whether or not you can hold it together, it's really good to keep a hand on the top. So I have like my finger over the top here so it doesn't explode. And then I keep one on the bottom for leverage. And then you're just going to shake it like a shake weight, like we're in those really bad commercials. And then you're going to shake it for about 10 seconds. And usually, if you have like a frostiness on the outside of your tin, then it's going to be nice and cold inside, and you've shaken it enough. That's a good indication that it's pretty cold. So you're just going to kind of tap it, and that'll help you open it. And then I'm going to be using pebble ice / Sonic ice, but just find your highball glass or your Yeti cup and just fill it all the way with ice. That's what we're going to do now. I have so much of this Sonic ice. And quite honestly, this cocktail goes well on any kind of ice. I chose to use pebble ice, one, because I love it, but also because it's going to help the specific garnish I made today stay on the glass a little bit better, because it gives it like a little mound. So once you have ice in your glass, you're going to strain your cocktail. The coil side goes into your shaker, and you're just going to strain it slowly over your ice. And you should have this really nice, pretty pink color if you were able to use hibiscus. You're going to bring it all the way up to the top. And then, because it is Tiger King, I made an orange crown for the cocktail. So,
God.
This is Quarantine and Tiger King.
Nice. That's amazing.
It only gets worse or better, depending on how you feel right now.
Chandler, would you say you have that Corona on the glass?
Yes, I do. Corona. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, that means crown in Spanish, which is highly appropriate. I should have called it Tiger King and Corona, because that would also be equally as appropriate. But yes, so that is our little cocktail. Admittedly, it's difficult to drink through a crown, so I would suggest a straw. Definitely don't try to put that into your face. But I just really love the color of hibiscus.
It's so pretty.
It's so gorgeous. So that is Quarantine and Tiger King. Then, do we have any questions so far about this particular beverage? No? Okay. All right. So things to take into account. If you are doing this cocktail at home, or if you happened to follow along just now, this is a very high volume cocktail. Like it makes like 8 or 9 ounces of liquid once it's shaken. So take that into account when you're putting it into a glass. Like it would be way too much for like a martini glass, unless you have a giant martini glass. It'd probably be too much for a standard rocks glass, but it would fit in a double rocks glass. It would fit in a Yeti cup. It would fit in a mason jar. Highballs, or also known as Collins glasses, tend to be in the 8 to 12 ounce realm. So just know your ratios, or split it in 2 glasses and make a friend. Or if you're quarantined solo, double fist your drinks. I fully encourage that. So moving on, we're gonna do what I like to call R.I.P. Don Lewis, because there may be different varying opinions on whether or not he was murdered by a certain someone, but we know he's dead. So may he rest in peace, and we're gonna make him the cocktail. And I thought it would be kind of interesting. I had to really think about like, how am I gonna pull together, like the whole inspiration for Quarantine and Tiger King was to have a drink that you can drink all day, refreshing, but tastes like you're outdoors with these people. So that's the flavor profile of the first one. And then R.I.P. Don Lewis, we don't know a lot about, the circumstances of his death, but the 2 things that kept getting repeated about him a lot were the fact that he was a billionaire and a sex addict. So I thought it would be really fun to do a riff on a sex on the beach and then garnish it with money. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. So if you have your glass, I'm going to be using one like this. It'll also work in a rocks glass. That's about the size that you want to look for. But so directly into our glass, actually this will depend. Yeah, that'll work, New. That's good. We're going to froth our orange juice. Now we did this last week. If you don't have the ability to froth it, it'll work without it. I'm going to froth mine because I'm just kind of addicted to this technique, but it's not such a big deal if you don't do it. So if you are like me and you have a little coffee frother, it's a little milk frother that I use for my cappuccinos, you can do this directly in your glass. If you wanted to do this at home and you don't have one of these, you can use an immersion blender. You can use an actual blender. You could use a food processor, just anything that'll aerate your orange juice. Now, for this cocktail, we only need 1.5 ounces. So if you're gonna go through the effort of actually getting out big machinery, just double up on your recipe and, have a very, very large cocktail.
Would shaker
say one more time?
Aerating the orange juice in just the shaker tins work?
Yeah, you can definitely do it in that. I'm gonna just do it directly in the glass, but if you want to do it in your shaker tin, use the smaller side, and you're gonna put in 1.5 ounces of OJ.
I have Tang.
Do it. I actually love Tang. So funny side story. I remembered this the other day. Back in the 90s, when NASA was really big and it was like being taught in schools and stuff, I remember distinctly in like the 3rd or 4th grade that we were told that astronauts drank Tang in space, right? And then shortly thereafter, I moved to Costa Rica, where I spent the rest of my teenage years. And they have a lot of Tang, because that's where those like Hispanic countries were really where Tang came from. To the US, it was new, but down there it wasn't. So shortly after learning about the astronauts drinking Tang, moved to Costa Rica, see Tang everywhere, and all I thought was like, oh my gosh,
Astronaut.
astronauts must live in this country. And they didn't even have a very solid space program, but you know, kids are fun. I was a very dumb child sometimes. But yes, so I have the OJ in my shaker tin. I'm gonna go ahead and aerate it for about 15, 20 seconds. Get it nice and fluffy. You want that foam on there. And this works really nice. I believe it works better with fresh orange juice. You can definitely do it with pre-bought orange juice, which is what I have, but it's the fresh bought orange juice instead of like the ones that are overly sweetened, like the Simplies or stuff like that. There we go. So once you have frothy orange juice, we are going to use our apricot liqueur or apricot brandy. I am obsessed with this apricot liqueur. Made by Luxardo, and it tastes like, I mean, this is probably very specific to me, but growing up, my grandmother used to make what we called like fried pies, and it was like biscuits stuffed with homemade apricot jam, and then they just get cooked like oil in the cast iron skillet. That's what this is in a bottle. It's amazing. But if you don't have this, you can use peach liqueur. I've tried it with peach pucker, which is a little more tart. It still tastes pretty good. But so we're gonna put a 3/4 ounce of this directly into our glass. Right like that. We're gonna pour the fluffy OJ, give it a little swirl so you make sure to get all the foam if you have it in your shaker, directly on to the apricot liqueur. And we're gonna let that sit there for a minute. We're gonna prepare the rest of the cocktail. So most of the time, Sex on the Beach is pineapple, cranberry, peach, vodka. Those are the common ingredients. Sometimes it can have creme de cassis. Some people do it without pineapple. Some just do OJ and cran. What you got there, Miss Beth?
I don't even know why I have this. It's peach something.
Is it alcohol?
Skinny syrup.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Use it. I would say use maybe a 1/2 ounce, not the full 3/4, so it'll be really sweet. So I like whiskey more than I like vodka, but I will drink vodka on occasion. So I decided to do this riff on whiskey instead of vodka, just because also as I was growing up, for some reason I thought like whiskey was what rich people drank, and Don Lewis is supposedly rich, or was rich. May he rest in peace. So in our glass, we have the apricot liqueur and the OJ. And then in our shaker tin, we're going to mix, or we're going to pour in 1 ounce of cranberry juice. Then 1 ounce of whiskey. I'm using a Texas bourbon, but you can use a Canadian whiskey, a blended whiskey. I definitely recommend something with a stronger flavor profile than just Irish whiskey, but it would still work. But yeah, I'm using bourbon today. I did it with rye the other day. It was also very nice.
Is it 1 ounce, Chandler?
So it's 1 ounce of the whiskey and 1 ounce of the cranberry.
Don't tell her I'm doing 1.5 ounces.
Say that one more time.
I said, don't tell her I'm doing 1.5 ounces.
Do it. Yes, do it. And honestly, I would drink this at 1.5 ounces, but if you're trying to control your booziness, just remember that we are using apricot liqueur, we're using creme de cassis, which is a liqueur, and then we've got the whiskey. So there's a bunch of different alcohols going into it, but I would do this with more whiskey all day. And then we have creme de cassis, which I just have a tiny bit left over. Creme de cassis is a black currant liqueur. So if you don't have this at home, you could definitely use something similar to like a raspberry liqueur or any kind of berry. If you have blackberry, something like that. If you don't have it, you can totally omit it, and that's fine. But we're gonna use a 1/2 ounce of that, pour that into our shaker. And then a bar spoon's worth of lemon juice. But I'm gonna wait. I see some of my follow-alongs reaching for ingredients.
Oh, I want that spoon so bad.
I got this one off of Amazon for like $4. I will send you the link. Some people like I've had some spoons that I've tried out that are like all fancy and stuff, and usually the classic is the best, in my opinion. The ones that I absolutely hate, if you do see them online, don't buy them. They look like this, but they always have a little red plastic tip on the top. And that's like an old school restaurant supply style cocktail spoon. And what I don't like is that these ridges that are along the handle, those are designed to help you stir easily. And
Don't
the
get
one top, yeah, like that one, exactly like that one.
this. Get this one.
The ridges tend to be rough, so it'll like mess up your fingers. And I just realized that I have not spotlighted myself, which I should have totally done. I'm sorry, whoever watches this later in the live. If you can't see me or see what I was doing earlier, just message me. So hey, there we are, nice and big. Also realizing I should probably check that Facebook, make sure nobody's got any questions. This is hard, guys. This is
I bet. I bet.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Algie. I know you're on here. Danny was asking for the Zoom link. Could you message that to her real quick, or would that be possible?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. And trying to see what the room is. But okay, so in our cocktail shaker, we should have 1 ounce of cranberry, 1 ounce of whiskey, 1/2 ounce of creme de cassis, and we're gonna do a bar spoon amount of lemon. So it's just a little splash of lemon juice. And I know it seems like that's not a whole lot, so why does it matter? But believe it or not, that's just gonna balance out all of the fruity, bright flavors that we're trying to put in there so that it's not an overly sweet cocktail. So we need to do 2 things now. We have our glass, the apricot and the orange. We have our shaker with the remainder of our ingredients. Now what I want you guys to do is we're gonna fill our shaker with ice and we're gonna fill our glass up with ice. Okay, we're gonna do both of those things at the same time. So ice in the shaker. And then I'm gonna use pebble ice again because nobody can stop me because I do what I want and I love pebble ice. So I'm gonna put pebble ice in the glass. But regular ice in my shaker. Yeah, that should be good. Okay. And then make sure you tap it so it's nice and secure. You can try different ways of shaking while we're doing this class because all of our cocktails are shaken. So before I did it with my left hand on top, my right hand on bottom. Sometimes I like to do it the other way. If you have a really firm grip, because I tend to grip it like this rather than having the thumb here, then I kind of pinch it or grip it with my hand, and then I tend to shake to the side as opposed to doing this motion. So shake however feels comfortable. It takes a while to find your shake. We're going to shake for about 10 seconds. Open our shaker. And I'm going to tell y'all something after you make this very labor-intensive cocktail that y'all are going to hate me for, but it'll be okay. We'll still be friends at the end of this. So if you've done this cocktail the way I'm doing it, then your ice level should be above the apricot and OJ, right? You should be able to see a layer of ice on top. If you can't, then go ahead and add a few extra fresh ice cubes. And what you're going to do is slowly strain the contents of your shaker on top of the fresh ice, and it'll layer it as you go. So just make sure you do it slow. and it should create a layered effect where it'll be kind of rosy and pink on top, and then orange on the bottom. As long as you do it over the fresh ice, you'll get that color division. And then that foam, if you were able to froth your OJ, will stay on the top. And then I spent a lot of time this week dabbling in dollar bill origami to try and create a garnish for this cocktail. So
Oh, God.
I'm gonna bring it over to you guys so you guys can see it. Watch it not work now. There we go. All right, I'm gonna bring it over. So I made a cross because he's dead. And it says, let's see, there you go. In God we trust. But not in Carol Baskins, apparently. Right? So don't hate me. You can actually make this cocktail without all of the steps we did. You could literally just put everything from the recipe into your shaker, shake it up, dump it in. But I know a lot of the people that are at home learning to make cocktails like to be able to make things look fancy. And sometimes we don't have garnish skills or we don't know how to get layered effects. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys as my ears are falling off. That you can learn techniques and then choose when and when not to use them. So if you're just trying to like drink and binge watch some stuff, put it all in a shaker, shake it up. Half the time, I have a big mason jar. I put everything in there, add the ice, shake it, unscrew the top, and then just drink it. So it's a glass and a shaker all in one. But this, I just love allowing people to learn how to layer. So layering has a lot to do with densities and temperatures. So because we have this heavier syrup on the bottom, it'll stay. And then because the ice is extra cold, because it's on top exposed, and then our liquid that's coming from the shaker is extra cold onto the ice, it'll make it colder as it's going into the glass and achieve that extra layered effect. But if you make this all at once, it'll still look equally as pretty. It'll just be a little bit of a different color. It'll be more of a punch type of look. It still works. And if you're bored, I mean, quarantine is a great time to learn dollar bill origami. So cheers, and 2 seconds of silence of respect for the dead. I'm so sorry, Don Lewis. All right, so that is the R.I.P. Do we have any questions about that one?
We'll get to the Don Lewis theories afterwards.
Oh, okay. Death theories afterwards. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna pull my piercing off.
She fed him to the, come on, y'all.
We'll start the debate after we have our third drink, because I feel like it's very apropos that we go to our last part of this Tiger King segment. Our last cocktail of the day is called Here Kitty Kitty.
You all cool cats and kittens out there.
I totally forgot. I was going to start off our thing today like that. I was going to be like, hey, cool cats and kittens. Is that how it says? Cool cats and kittens. So I like dessert cocktails, but I always feel like they're so sweet. And I'm that person, like if I'm really wanting a very sweet cocktail, then I'm going to do it. But I like the desserts that you just can feel guilty about because you eat so much of them. You know, like I love pie because I love a lot of the fruit pies, and then I'll eat 2 or 3 slices and give no fucks. Because, you know, it's fruit, right? Or as we discussed the other day, it's just a salad with large croutons. Anything can be a salad, guys. That's an entirely separate conversation. But for the Here Kitty Kitty cocktail, I really wanted to make a cocktail that felt like rich and decadent without being heavy, if that makes sense. So I'm going to walk you guys through what I designed, and then I'm going to walk you through a few ways to kind of change it up and make it flexible depending on ingredients you may either be more accustomed to having on hand, or if you have certain like dietary things that you prefer. So for this cocktail, if you're going to make it along with me, you will need the following ingredients. You'll need your dark rum. If you don't have dark rum, you can use whiskey for this. It works just as well. I did have a recipe that I had sent out as part of the flyer that I put out every week for a specialty tea syrup. And it can be either chai tea or Thai tea. And I went with Thai tea because I just really love the color, how it gets really nice and orange. And Thai tea has more vanilla and cinnamon notes, whereas chai tea has more baking spices involved. Both of them are beautiful flavor profiles for this drink. So it's just a simple syrup. That recipe is definitely in the pandemic pinup happy hour group. You're going to need half and half, and then you're going to need orange juice and an egg white. So the way that we're going to make this is in a shaker. So you definitely will need one of those. And then we're going to use, I like to put in all of my non-dairy items first when I'm going to make a cocktail that has either egg whites or cream or milk, just because usually the other ingredients involve sweeteners and alcohols. So once you add the sugar to the alcohol, it allows that kind of high proof to balance out, so your milk won't curdle. And most of the time it won't. Like, we're not doing insanely curdly cocktails because nobody likes drinking chunky drinks, although who knows. Courtney, I know Miss Beth had said that she thought I could do a chunky cocktail for the Hair Kitty Kitty. So if you want to go the chunky route, just let your milk curdle. But what we're going to do is we're going to use dark rum. A lot of rums are out there. You have Jamaican rums, Latin American rums, Caribbean rums. There's just a ton of different rums, and they're all very different. I personally love Flor de Caña. It's a rum from Nicaragua. I've been drinking it for years. I was introduced to it when I lived in Costa Rica. I'm not saying this is the only one you can use, just saying I really like this one. I have the 4-year because I was broke when I went to go get rum. My favorite one is the 7-year-old. That would be the best cocktail. But like I said, whiskey works just as well. We're going to do 1 3/4 ounces of rum directly in our shaker. Put that in there. And then we're going to use a 1/2 ounce of our tea syrup. Now, if you don't have the tea syrup, you can totally just use like a simple syrup or a maple syrup or a honey simple syrup. Quarantine is terrible. So, get creative and binge watch Tiger King. I was very late on that train. I honestly think it's like, I don't know how many hours it was, but it's like 8 hours of my life I'll never get back. But I'm very glad it inspired some very entertaining cocktails that I can spend time making for people that I enjoy. So we have our tea syrup and our rum. We're going to do a 3/4 ounce of orange juice. Also directly into the shaker. And then we're going to use half and half. So like I said, I'm going to walk you through some variations. Like I said, you can use whiskey instead of rum. You could also do this with tequila. Definitely try and use a brown liquor or something that's been aged, just because it's going to have a lot more of those wood, spice, warm notes that those kinds of liquors have or alcohols have. If you don't want to use half and half, if you make this with half and half, feel like it's still too rich for you, then start dialing it back slowly and test it for yourself. Go from half and half to whole milk to skim milk, and so forth. And if you're into alternative milks, I definitely recommend trying this with either oat milk or maybe almond milk, but not. I personally think soy milk kind of tends to taste grainy, regardless of what you use it. So that's how I would start altering the milks if you feel the need to do that. So we're going to do 1.5 ounces of half and half. We'll put that directly in there. And then I'm going to use an egg white. I crack an egg, and my friend LG literally has a stroke anytime bartenders egg and then toss the egg yolk. So stay tuned. After the cocktail class, we'll be back at 6 p.m. with the cooking class, and I'll show you what I did with the egg yolk just for Miss LG.
Woohoo!
So egg white directly into our shaker tin.
God.
I know a lot of people get like weirded out by egg whites, but they're a really nice addition for like mouthfeel and whatnot to your cocktail. We're gonna do a dry shake. Dry shake means we're not putting any ice in our shaker. We can get into arguments about dry shakes and reverse shakes all day. What is going on, Ms. Beth?
I don't even know.
So if you have your cocktail shaker, you got to dry shake, no ice, for about 10 to 15 seconds. You want to be really nice and vigorous, get your workout, start your cardio. And this just really breaks up all the proteins that are in an egg white.
Ooh.
And then, very carefully, shaking it. Very carefully, we open our shaker because we have created a lot of pressure. And we're going to add some ice. Then we're going to shake it again for another 10 to 15 seconds. So once you have your cocktail shaken, first dry, then wet, you're going to get a rocks glass, fill it with ice. And we're going to double strain this cocktail, which means that we'll be using this kind of cocktail strainer and a fine mesh. If you don't have one of these, just strain it with the other one. It'll be fine. I just like to do this just in case any of the egg white proteins didn't break up very well. We're going to fill this up. And like I said, I chose the Thai tea syrup because it has that really nice orange color, which I thought was very appropriate for Tiger King. And then, because Thai tea or chai tea tends to have cinnamon, as a garnish, we are going to light some stuff on fire. So I have a really cool cinnamon stick here I got from the Mexican area of my grocery store. I'm gonna just light it on fire, literally like an incense stick.
Oh God.
Put it on there. I'll let it catch. There we go. I'm gonna wave that out. Put that right on top. I'm gonna bring it over so you can see. So now you have all this beautiful aroma. I'm gonna find out if you can see the smoke. There it is. This smells so good. Yes, a nice bright or light orange with our smoky cinnamon. And then you can drink it. You know, put some cinnamon dust on your cocktail.
Chandler's making me want to have a cigar in a second.
Yeah. So did you make this one, Miss Beth?
I did. It's good. Oh my God. I made a drink.
I love that you sound surprised. You're like, oh my.
I am.
I love that people have doubts.
Look what I bought. I don't know what this is, but I bought it because it has a cat on it.
Try not to set myself on fire over here. Let's see. Hold on, let me spotlight you. See what that is. Ooh, okay. It's a tequila cream. Interesting. Never seen that before.
Me either. Who knew?
Is that what you used?
Uh-huh.
Ooh, fancy. Yeah.
That's the serious booze quantity right there, Beth.
No.
Yeah, so those are our cocktails today for the Tiger King edition. So all you cool cats and kittens out there, thank you for joining us. Definitely come back, tune in today at 6 o'clock. It's a different Zoom room if anyone's paying attention. The link is up on the Underground Cooking Club page. I believe I posted it in the Pandemic Pinup Happy Hour as well. I'll be making a malfatti, which is a ricotta-based gnocchi. Very easy to make. The name literally means poorly made. So like if you make mistakes, the recipe is literally equipped for you. And I spent a lot of time this morning doing some new cocktail tests. So pre-announcement before I put up the poster or flyer for next week. All the cocktails next week are going to be very chef style cocktails is what I like to call them. They're more on the savory side. Very large focus on vegetables, and I'm going to try and tie in the vegetables that we purchased for the cocktail class into the cooking class. So we'll be using a lot of really interesting, fun ingredients. If you're in the industry, then hopefully I'll be able to get you to see those ingredients in a different way. And if you are not from the industry, then hopefully it'll just kind of open your mind to all the different ingredients. We'll be using things such as fennel and rhubarb and corn and what was the other one? Corn, rhubarb. Oh, working on an Asian Bloody Mary with like green tomatoes and soy sauce and miso and some other kind of stuff. So it'll be a very weird class. A lot of the prep will be time consuming just because there's a lot of little things that y'all would have to make, but definitely worth it. If it feels a little overwhelming and you do choose to mix along, either reach out to me ahead of time so I can really, walk you through on some format other than the live class on how to do all of your prep, or just pick one cocktail to do with me in the class and then take notes on the other two and then do them later. But yeah, so that is my little invite to come and see me tonight, and then hopefully a little something to get y'all excited about next week. I will not be wearing any feline prints next week.
Are you gonna wear like a zucchini type, or dressing up as vegetables?
I have a lot of food themed clothing because, like I said, I'm a total cornball. I'll have to see if I have any veggie.
I was gonna say, do you have any VeggieTales theme?
I do not. But if the class plays the cards right, then maybe I'll do another rendition of the cheeseburger song. It's totally a lie. I'm not gonna sing cheeseburger on live Facebook ever. Not gonna happen. That'll be for the late. But yeah, if you are on Facebook, thank you for tuning in. And if you couldn't get into the room, then I'm very sorry. A lot of juggling going on today. I'm getting steadily better. So thank you for tuning in. I will hopefully see y'all this evening. And I'm going to end the live and we're going to stay on Zoom. If you do have the Zoom info and want to just kind of pop in, hang out for a little bit, please feel free to do so. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your afternoon and cheers.
Cheers.
Wait, let me see. Dun, dun.